Hello everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you once again to the analysis of the novel Passed Like a Shadow, the novel written by Tanzanian novelist Bernard Mapalala. And dear listeners, our today's concern is going to center on identifying some possible themes that are found in this novel. What are the possible themes found in the novel Passed Like a Shadow? Well, the main theme in this book seems to be HIV or AIDS pandemic, which is nicknamed as SLIM. Most of all other themes seem to be revolving around building up the main theme. That's it to say, some other themes originate from the main theme, which is HIV AIDS pandemic. Well, to start with the main theme of this novel, HIV AIDS pandemic. AIDS pandemic is a disease that has invaded the earth and spreads like a bushfire, sweeping people in large numbers. That's to say, people die of HIV/AIDS in large numbers due to some reasons behind. However, the author shows that HIV/AIDS spreads rapidly because of people's ignorance and superstitious beliefs that the traditional society is caught up with. So that is to say, belief in witchcraft or superstition play the important role behind transmission of HIV/AIDS. Even the title of the book itself seems to suggest that a lot of people, young and old, children and parents, women and men, poor and rich, perish miserably and within a very short span of time. That is to say, HIV/AIDS is indiscriminate. It does not discriminate basing on people's economic status. It does not discriminate gender. It can catch anybody else. Well, a lot of people or characters have fallen victims of the pandemic in this novel. Who are these characters who are caught up with this pandemic? Well, these characters include Adieri, Amoti, Atwoki, Vicky, Aliganyira, Birungi, David's father, David's mother, and their house girl in Kampala. The author reveals some of the incidents that expose them to the pandemic. Moreover, the author gives education on HIV/AIDS. What is that education? Well, on transmission, he uses the TV announcer to educate the thought that AIDS is transmitted from one infected person to another through exchange of certain body fluids. What are those fluids? They include semen, blood, and vaginal secretions. This exchange stems from immoral activities such as fornication. So fornication can result in exchange of such fruits. And what is fornication? Fornication is all about having sexual relationship with somebody whom you are not married to. And some other activities that contribute to transmission of HIV/AIDS is sodomy, one of the immoral sexual activity. Another activity is intravenous drug abuse, and this has been very common, especially among the youth, etc. Education on prevention. The novelist has made the use of Dr. Jonathan, who plays the most important role in educating the society, that the 100% guaranteed protection against AIDS is abstinence from unmarried people. Abstaining from unmarried people can contribute to one to safeguard him or herself from HIV/AIDS. But also, Dr. Jonathan educates that mutual love and loyalty among the married couples can also safeguard individuals from HIV infection. Premarital and extramarital sex should be discouraged at all costs. What is premarital sex? It is engaging in sex before getting married. Extramarital sex is engaging in sexual affairs out of wedlock, or out of wedding, out of marriage. When someone engages in sex out of marriage, that is what is termed as extramarital sex or infidelity. So such behavior should be discouraged at all costs so as to safeguard the society from HIV/AIDS. Dear listeners, the second possible theme from this novel is a theme of promiscuity, or promiscuity and infidelity. What is promiscuity? Well, promiscuity is a situation or a behavior of someone having many sexual partners who are not legally married to him or her. Having many sexual partners is what is referred as promiscuity. What is infidelity? Dear listeners, infidelity is a situation of having other partners than your wife or husband. This is a situation that Adieri found himself included in. Adieri has multiple sexual partners apart from Amote, his wife. For instance, Adieri has a concubine called Birungi beside his own wife. To prove this, the narrator says, initially, Adieri resisted the sexual suggestive gestures of his secretary, Birungi, as a headmaster at St. Leo's High School. However, he gave into the sexual desires. That is to say, Adieri allows or paves the way for sexual relationship, allowing Birungi as the third party, and this seems to be an evidence of Adieri's promiscuous. Adieri also sleeps with a lot of women that he picks in the streets. Do not forget a toothless woman who is caught up with Adieri in a very provocative posture. Adieri could not even identify whoever might have infected him with the disease. That's to say, he had multiple sexual partners. Then he infects his wife and they both die of the same disease. Apart from Adieri, other characters who are infidels or promiscuous include the following. David is promiscuous. He picks girls at random and gets the disease as a result of his behavior. David's father is also promiscuous and an infidel. How? He is married but he picks girls at the bar remember, of the Sheraton, and in the streets, and even his own house girl. So this is a commentary of what we call moral decay to its highest level. How comes for a married man to engage in sexual affairs with his house girl? That is quite immorality. Dear listeners, Birungi is promiscuous, as we are told that she had other men apart from Adieri. Another promiscuous character is Muzungu. Muzungu is Tusime's boyfriend. Muzungu is an infidel, and we are told that he is married but visits Tusime secretly. Alganyira is also a sex maniac. He is also promiscuous because we are told he had married and divorced 2 wives and now has got married to Vic. All big people who could help Aboki demanded body pleasure before they could do anything, or to call sexual pleasure, sexual corruption. This is a sign of promiscuity as well. John is also promiscuous because he drugged Aboki and slept with her without her consent. That is to say, Johnny rapes Aboki, and it is an indicator that probably John was having multiple sexual partners. Dear listeners, another possible theme is a theme of prostitution. What is it? Prostitution is a situation of doing sex for sale, or in other words, it is a commercial sex. In this novel, we are told that one of the chief reasons for this behavior seems to be poverty, not only in this novel but also in the contemporary society. Well, the young girls who involve in this dangerous behavior are motivated by the fact that they want to meet their basic needs and cope up with their peers. That's to say, peer pressure and influence contributes a lot behind prostitution engagement. In this novel, Bernard Mapara presents to us Tusime and Kunihira as case in point. The 2 mentioned girls get involved in this and are capable of handling their lives, and they don't care about the dangers associated with it. So prostitution is a dangerous game to get involved too. This makes them capable of influencing Vicky, who comes from a disadvantaged background or a poor family. Vic also becomes a prostitute and foots the bills in Adieri's family. And this activity is also dangerous as it may expose the person to AIDS pandemic. Dear listeners, Birungi is also a prostitute, and this is evident when she exploits Adieri, and Birungi eventually throws him out and takes another boyfriend just the next day as the replacement. As far as prostitution is concerned, Eda is also a prostitute as she exploits Atoki and makes him lose his control in life. Another possible theme, dear listeners, is a theme of peer pressure and influence. Peer pressure implies the influence one gets from his friends or her friends, age mates, colleagues, or family folks on different decisions. In this novel, the foreign people have fallen victims of the peer pressure, and peer pressure seems to contribute much in individuals' behavioral change. Well, Adieri falls a prey to Birungi's seductive approaches. Birungi's seductive approaches influence Adieri to fall a prey to Birungi. And sad enough, Adieri squanders the school funds to build a house for her in Burungu. And this results to Adieri's dismissal from his job. Vic also becomes a victim of the peer pressure from her friends Tusime and Kunihira, and she begins to engage in prostitution temporarily. They say to her, the two prostitutes say to her, "You must be the most poor-dressed girl in Fort Portal." That is to say, for Vic to appear in a decent way regarding dressing, she must engage in prostitution without thinking about some negative effects that can come out of that dangerous behavior. Atwoki is influenced by David when in Kampala. Atwoki is introduced to beer drinking and girls, and even finances their affairs. And this makes Atwoki to become bored with girls and leads him to get HIV/AIDS. Remember, Atwoki before is portrayed as fearful, shameful, and she could not face girls before he meets this guy, David. But after meeting David, Atwoki's behavior completely changes. Well, the pressure from Aliganyira's relatives exposes both Vic and Aliganyira to the disease. They go to the witch doctor in search for a baby, but as the witch doctor makes small cuts on Vicky's skin, he infects her with HIV/AIDS. Another possible theme, dear listeners, is a theme of ignorance and superstition. In this novel, most people seem to be ignorant by lacking some vital information around them. And they are not only ignorant about the disease, but also they do not know the ways the disease spreads. So they say this actually creates difficult environment behind fighting against the infection. But also Amoti associates her husband's illness with witchcraft. This is belief in superstition. Amoti believes that her husband Adieri is bewitched. She does not believe if Adieri actually suffers from HIV/AIDS. Vicky's husband takes her to the witch doctor in Kahina village in order to get a baby. Instead, she gets HIV. The victims of Slim are taken to witch doctors with a belief that they have been bewitched, and this contributes much to transmission of HIV/AIDS. Dear listeners, another possible theme is a theme of poverty. Because most people are unable to afford basic needs, they use any other possible means to meet their needs. And some of these methods are not good because they are likely to expose someone to the possibility of getting HIV. Poverty is portrayed in the following scenarios. Number 1. Vicky, Tusime, and Kunihira are forced to engage in prostitution in order to meet their basic needs, including food and clothing. Aboki falls a prey to Johnny's trap because of her poor condition at home, and Johnny offers financial support. She responds to his invitation, knowing that if she refuses, she might as well lose the financial support when her mother was seriously sick. This makes her lose her virginity by being raped. Due to poor condition at home, Atwok is forced to move from home to Kampala to meet his friend David. And he goes to live with his friend David, who comes from a rich family where he is influenced to city life and eventually gets HIV. Adiari's family is so poor to the extent that sometimes the visitor, who is Uncle Rari, puts the food berries in the house. Poverty is also evident among the government officers when Aliganyira laments in page number 36. Aliganyira says, "These hungry government officers, they are simply professional beggars. I wonder why they think I can finance them all the time." So that is to say, government officers are troubled by poor living condition, and they depend on Aliganyira for financial assistance. Poverty also makes people trust that witch doctors can make them rich, as thus they go to witch doctors in search of richness, as Aliganyira tells Vic in page number 37. Aliganyira says, "This man is very powerful. He has very powerful juju." Juju has been used to mean magic power. His charms have made people rich. Well, another possible theme, dear listeners, is a theme of autocracy or dictatorship. But also you can term it, as far as this novel is concerned, you can regard it as male dominance. Who is a dictator of his own home? Well, Adieri silences Amot and Vicky when Amot objects Vic to be married to Akena. Adieri thundered at them by saying, "Shut up, both of you. I am the only person who puts on trousers in this room. I am the one to make decision." So this is an indicator of male dominance, because Adieri seems to be a dictator of his own house. The dictator he was, Adieri reprised rudely to Amoti to pack her things and leave the house if she was against his decision to do what he wanted with his inherited land. Furthermore, dear listeners, a theme of dictatorship and male dominance is also seen when the narrator says, "Daddy stood poisedly, his hands in the pocket. He enjoyed the sudden silence which had spread all over the place. He enjoyed knowing that his children feared him like hell. It gave him a sense of satisfaction, a sense of royalty and aristocracy." Dear listeners, another possible theme from this very novel is a theme of moral decay. Moral decay, as far as in this novel is concerned, older people and parents are encouraged to be good exemplars to the younger generation and their children. That is to say, we have some parents and some older people who are not actual role models to the young generation. For instance, David's parents were not ashamed watching an erotic film or pornographic film together with their children. This is an imaginable experience. How comes for parents to watch such kind of films, some dirty films, together with their children? This is immorality to the highest level. Remember, Atwok was also gathering around. To prove this, the narrator states, after they had taken their lunch, the whole family plus the visitor clustered around the VCR to watch a film. The film was a romantic tale full of sexual scenes. Daddy was very excited, and his voice cracked with laughter almost throughout the show. Instead of making sure that children grow up morally, David's father is supporting what is happening around. So you can't imagine it is an indicator of immorality as far as the nowadays society is concerned. This is one of the effects of globalization, whereby it has affected some family morals and the society morals at large. At the visitors' quarters, the narrator says, the room was full of pictures of half-naked women. On the table, there was a pile of pornographic magazines. This was the room where a talk was accommodated. Dear listeners, another possible theme is a theme of conflicts. Conflicts have been presented in this novel in various ways. To begin with, family conflicts. Family quarrels, misunderstandings, and some frictions, and so on. Well, family conflicts also play a major and significant role in exposing both parents and the children to the chance of getting infected with the disease. Let us look at the following conflicts. Family conflicts. There is the family conflict between Adieri and Amoti, and this makes them separated, where Amoti goes to live in Katumba, to the house built by her son Atwoki, and this forces Adieri to remain with his concubines, where he acquires the infection. Another family conflict is identified when Atwoki is forced to move from home due to constant conflicts with the daddy, who is Adieri, and poor upbringing. Atwoki eventually acquires the disease in exile, somewhere in Kampala, when he meets Eda. A conflict between Vic and her husband's relatives forces her to visit the witch doctor in search for a baby. Instead, she gets HIV. Dear listeners, another form of conflict is intrapersonal conflict, or one's own conflict. Individual conflict has also been presented in this novel. Who are characters who suffer from intrapersonal conflict? Well, Abok suffers intrapersonal conflict after being raped by John. Abok wonders whether she has contracted HIV or pregnancy. As a solution, she goes for blood tests, which confirms that she is HIV and pregnancy-free. Vic also suffers interpersonal conflict, first when living with her uncle who mistreats her. She runs away from home to get comfort somewhere else. Also, Vic suffers interpersonal conflict when she marries Aliganyira and fails to get a child. She is worried if her husband will throw her out and bring in a replacement. As a result, she goes to the witch doctor in search for a baby, but she gets HIV. Dear listeners, another possible theme is a theme of parents' influence on their children, parental influence on their children. And this is proved by the common saying presented in this novel, as it is generally said, like father, like son. How parents influence their children to behave in some ways. Well, parents play a big role in the future behavior of their children. Parents ought to be good role models to their children, or else they will become bad models. If it happens that they shape their children in a negative way, it may increase their chance of getting HIV, as in the following cases from the novel. How parents influence their children. Number 1. David's father influenced David negatively by giving him too much freedom. He also goes to the bars with his father, drinks beer and picks girls without any reprimand from the parent. The parent does not stop his son from picking girls. You can't imagine, dear listeners. Atwake also experiences poor upbringing from his heavy drinking and sex maniac father. He eventually picks up his father's behavior and exposes himself to HIV/AIDS. But also the jealousy of Amoti influences Vic to engage in prostitution and later finds a husband as a way of getting her basic needs. This makes Vic acquire the disease. However, Amoti's influence on Aboki is a positive one. Amoti takes good care of her, and we are told that Aboki was a much disciplined girl. Dear listeners, another possible theme from this novel is a theme of position of women. How women have been portrayed in this novel. What are some outstanding positions women hold in this novel and the society at large? Well, women occupy different positions in different societies. But remember, some authors portray women in a positive way, while others portray their women or female characters in a negative aspect, or both. Dear listeners, as far as this novel is concerned, women occupy the following positions. Number 1. Women are portrayed as tools for pleasure by men. That's to say, women are portrayed as tools for refreshment by men. Most men use women just to satisfy their sexual desires. And the following examples illustrate the point. Aboki by John. That's to say, Aboki entertains John. Eda by Atwoki. Birungi by Adieri. David with his father were using a lot of women and girls for the same reason. This increases their chance of getting HIV. Another position of women, how women have been portrayed in this novel. Women are portrayed as prostitutes. In the novel, women or girls engage in commercial sex as a solution to poor living condition. These include Vicky, Tusime, and Kunihira. Well, women are portrayed as weak and have no say. A woman is shown as a weak vessel, as a weak object that men can manipulate or can use the way they wish. Amoti receives constant beating from her husband. Also, Vicky is denied the chance of marrying Akena by her uncle because of bride price, which she has no say about. She is not given freedom of decision or expression. Another position of women in this novel, women are portrayed as superstitious. Women believe in witchcraft. Women also believe in witchcraft, especially when Amoti believes that the sickness of her husband is due to witchcraft. She says that her husband has been bewitched by Birungi. But also, dear listeners, women are portrayed as jealous person, and good examples of jealous women in this society are Amoti, who does not want Vic to marry Akena because of jealousy. And as a result, Amoti puts an obstacle that Akena is a Munyamahanga, a man from another tribe, and also she is jealous of the wife of the rich shopkeeper, as we find this in chapter 1, when Amoti could gossip with Abuoli over the wife of a rich shopkeeper. But also, dear listeners, women are portrayed as gospels. Remember of Amoti and Abuoli. Women are portrayed as parents and caretakers. Amot has a positive side on this, and she manages to take a good care of her children even after family separation. We are told that until they reach high school, Atwoki and Abok have never engaged in sexual affairs. So that is to say, women are parents and caretakers by molding up the behavior of their children for them to grow up in a decent way or in a proper way. But also women are portrayed as betrayers. Adiari is betrayed by Birungi by being thrown away from Birungi's house, although Adiari the one who built the house. And we find this woman bringing a boy for replacement. This is an open betrayal. Women are good advisors. Remember of Vic, who advises Abok not to go after money. Otherwise, money would kill her. Abok advises Atwoki to be careful, especially when he was going to Kampala. Lastly, women can also be regarded as responsible persons in this novel. Amoti takes care of the family and the responsibilities while Adieri is enjoying life with his concubines. Abok also takes care of a sick mother while Atwoki is enjoying the city life with girls. Dear listeners, another possible theme in this novel is a theme of influence of power or money. Well, sometimes the position one has in the society or his financial status may influence or expose him to the risk of getting HIV/AIDS. And the following people are cases in point, people who misuse power so as to achieve something else. Well, number one, Adieri, with the headmaster at St. Leo's High School, is trapped by Birungi, his secretary, because of her seductive approaches. But also Atwoki falls under Eda's control because he is a famous football star and many girls are hunting him. It is because of his money and power that he is admired most by girls. David's father uses his money and position to trap girls. It is because David's father is rich and an important person in Kabaka's council. David also uses his daddy's money and wealth to win girls. Girls love and exposes himself to HIV infection. John uses his money to finance Aboki and uses that position or that loophole to rape her. Alganyira marries and divorces two wives and forces Vic to visit the witch doctor since he is rich, and Vic agrees simply because refusing could mean divorce and go back to hand-to-mouth kind of life she had before she hooked him. Some other possible themes of this novel include irresponsibility, tribalism, bride price, wife battering, wife beating, stigmatization, especially to HIV victims, influence of the mass media, betrayal, and the like. Dear listeners, the last part of the analysis of this novel is going to center on a message, philosophy or belief of the writer, but also relevance of this novel. Wow. What are the messages that readers can obtain after reading this novel? Passed Like a Shadow by Bernard Mapalala. And bear in your mind, especially students, that this part, together with the previous one, the part about possible themes, these are the most important parts that students must internalize, must understand well as far as the assessment of the current exams is concerned. Well, what are the messages that readers can learn? What should they do after reading this work of what? Well, the first message to be obtained states, it is important to spread HIV/AIDS education to people about its infection, transmission, prevention, and treatment. Many people seem to get the disease unawares and spread it unknowingly. Remember what is done by David in this novel. Another message, multiple sexual partners increase the chance of getting HIV/AIDS. As we have seen how Adieri, David's father, David himself, their multiple sexual partnership result for them to contract HIV/AIDS. Another message, people should be careful in choosing friends and selecting the advice from friends. That's to say, peer pressure seems to have a strong influence in personal transformation. The type of friends you have determines the kind of impact they will have in your life, whether positively or negatively. Think about how a talk is affected by David's influence. Another message, family conflicts and a poor upbringing create a detrimental or a bad future for the children. Another message, spouse beating or wife beating is an outdated culture as it may lead to family separation. Lastly, people should do good things when still alive so that they can be remembered for good when they are gone, lest they pass like a shadow. Dear listeners, what is the belief of the writer? What is the philosophy of the writer as far as the purpose of his writing or as far as the main theme is concerned? Well, Bernard Mapalala believes that HIV/AIDS spreads due to ignorance and negligence of the people, despite being aware of the disease. Still practice prostitution and infidelity without precautions. Also, it is cited that the main cause of HIV or AIDS, according to Bernard Mapalala, is sexual intercourse, and Bernard Mapalala calls upon abstinence from this dangerous behavior for the society to safeguard themselves from HIV/AIDS. Lastly, is this novel relevant to what is happening today in the society? I think the correct answer here must be yes, it is quite relevant. It is a copy of what is happening today in the society of today. How? This book is relevant in any African society as it clearly depicts some common issues that are prevalent or that are common in African context. Issues like AIDS pandemic, superstition, ignorance, infidelity, family conflicts have been very common in the society of today. Probably they have been a contributing factor behind transmission of HIV/AIDS. The influence of peer pressure, especially among the youth, is also common. Bride price and the related complications are common in African societies as a traditional practice. Stigmatization of HIV victims, irresponsibility and betrayal among members of the society are common phenomena in Africa. Issues like moral decay have been very common. Issues like patriarch system or male dominance in African families, especially in rural areas, have been very common. Just adding the few. Listeners, thank you so very much for your endless support as far as listening to the analysis of this novel is concerned. Wishing you all the best in your literature career, in your literature and English studying journey. Put forward hard working put forward clear follow-up of what is done by many people, like what I'm trying to do here, and it is my hope that this must contribute enough in your academic prosperity, academic welfare. Thank you very much and have a good time. Bye.